Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy back again as ETCG1 on this here channel. So for today's video, I thought I would do something outside of just the seriousness of talking about being a technician and workplace dynamics and the future of technology and automobiles and all that fun to happy kind of stuff, to talk about something a little more lighthearted, and that is Top Gear. Now I know in the title I put it as American Top Gear versus British Top Gear or vice versa, but that's not really the point. That was mostly to get your attention. I'm well aware that Top Gear is a franchise that's worldwide, and in several different countries they have their own versions. I know for a fact that there's an Australian Top Gear, there's a German Top Gear, a Korean Top Gear based on that video about the helicopter crash not too long ago that you might have caught. But there's no denying that the godfathers of all this are the UK version of Top Gear. So we have Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond, who have been doing the show now for, I think, since like 2003 or 4. I know somebody's going to correct me down in the comments. But originally it started out, I think it was Jeremy Clarkson and James May, and I think that Richard Hammond came in a little bit later than that. I remember I started watching the show sometime back around 2007, maybe even a little bit sooner than that. Maybe it was late 2006, somewhere around there, and a coworker turned me on to it. He said, boy, you really got to check this program out. It's great. And I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Because up until that point, automotive programs, for the most part, weren't really there for entertainment value. I'm not saying they weren't entertaining, but for car geeks like me and perhaps like you would sit on a Saturday afternoon and watch. I used to watch, what was it, Motor Magazine or Motor something, and all it was just a general review of different vehicles, both new and sometimes old, and it was just, a standard cookie cutter kind of, here's the vehicle, here's its features, and that's that. But when Top Gear came along, they added a whole different element, a whole different entertainment value to it. And I think, I'm not exactly 100% certain, but I think that has a lot to do with Jeremy Clarkson. I actually read his biography not too long ago. And it didn't talk too much about his time at Top Gear, but it talked a lot about his time leading up to it. And Jeremy's a pretty interesting guy. He's got a lot under his belt. Really an advocate of the military. And also, interestingly enough, his mother was the one who popularized Paddington Bears, which I found to be an interesting thing, and he makes reference to Paddington Bears throughout Top Gear sometimes. In addition to that, I believe his family owned the copyrights or the plans or something like that to those mason jars for some time. So his family had a great deal of wealth at some point. And then over time, that wealth was gradually lost, and now Jeremy's back, and Jeremy's doing pretty well. And good for him. Good for him. I mean, he's just, as he was described, a bloke's bloke. But at least for me, he seems to be sort of the driving force behind what Top Gear is and what it's become. Just because I don't know if he was able to talk to BBC into doing some of those crazy things or what. But then you add James May and Richard Hammond, who have different personalities, into the mix, and you get this trifecta of just a really entertaining group of guys that just do whatever. I think it was about 3 years ago that American Top Gear started up. I think they're in their 3rd or 4th season now. And they are Tanner Faust, Adam Ferreira, and Rutledge Wood, who I've really come to like. And one of the things I noticed, at least with the American version of Top Gear, and this goes back to that formulaic concept that Top Gear seems to have become, of we're going to make a Top Gear for every country, every audience. And you really can't blame them for this, because there is, let's face it, Top Gear is I think one of the most popular television programs in the world. Top Gear UK I'm talking about. So it makes sense that they would try to spread the franchise around and do something called localization. Where they have something that might cater to your language and also to your tastes. And one of the things that I noticed about the American Top Gears during the first season is it was just a cookie cutter carbon copy of the British version. In fact, they were doing the same stunts, they were doing pretty much the same thing. Starred a reasonably priced car, which honestly didn't go over well, and I think a lot of that had to do with their commentary of the people driving around the track. It didn't have the same bite to it that like say Jeremy Clarkson has when he does it. And Jeremy Clarkson actually has a bit of experience. I believe he had a talk show for a while to where he was sitting down with different stars, different people of importance, and doing interviews with them. He's no stranger to that. But I think as far as when they look at the program, what they do is they look at that segment of star in a reasonably priced car more to get the female audience engaged. And it's not really one of the most popular parts of Top Gear, because we want to see things explode, crash. We want to see three guys goofing off a lot of times. But I guess they have to fill the empty space with something. But getting back to the way the American version started out, it started out, at least in my eyes, as something of a carbon copy of the British version. And that really personally turned me off. It just seemed like they were trying to sell me something in a different package. And I wasn't interested. I really wasn't interested. But since then, I think the American version has really grown into its own. They've taken away that star in a reasonably priced car thing, which, you know, I don't really miss. And they've taken away actually a lot of the studio audience aspect of it. So that whole thing where they're hanging out in the airplane hangar and there's a bunch of people standing around, that atmosphere is gone. So I'm sure they've done study after study to try to fine tune it to make it work for the American audience. And I say it has, but it's not so much the fine tuning and the fact that they cut out things that, you know, weren't really working, but it was also the dynamic between the three hosts, which I've really come to enjoy. In fact, my whole family, I actually get them to watch American Top Gear. In fact, they like American Top Gear better than British Top Gear. I know some of you are saying sacrilege. Aside from all that, like I said, they have really made the show American. In fact, I had said in a episode long ago that I had thought that what they needed to do with Top Gear to make it successful was make it American and not make it British. And I was referring to that whole carbon copy nature of how it came about. And like I said, since then, those three guys have really grown on me. I mean, they have their own thing going on. They're not Jeremy, James, and Richard. They are Adam and Tanner and Rutledge is who they are, which is good. Now they have their own identities. And as a result, I think the show has grown by leaps and bounds. And I'm entertained by it. So, in this episode of ETCG1, I'm throwing it out to you. I'm asking you, what are your opinions? What is your version of Top Gear? Where are you? I know lots of people watch this in all different kinds of places. You may be watching a version of Top Gear that I'm not even aware of. So, wherever you're from, tell us about your Top Gear and how you feel about it, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly. How does it compare to the original, the British version? And how do you feel about the British version and where it's going? One last thing before I wrap this up is I find it interesting that last season of Top Gear is MIA. They had a couple of specials, at least what they aired here in the States. I'm not sure what they did in the UK. But I don't know if that was because of the budget concerns with the BBC or what, but it seemed strange to me that at the peak of popularity of British Top Gear that you virtually have no season, and all they did was go back and rehash all the old seasons and, sit down and talk about past episodes and try to, make mashup videos of already stock footage. I don't know I'm sure the show is expensive. I mean, traveling around the world and with film crews and things like that, that's no joke. That's serious business. But on the flip side of it, if it's one of the most popular programs in the world, why would you do that? So if you've got an answer for that, I'd love to hear your take on that. So I pose the question to you, like British Top Gear, what do you think? Or what are your thoughts about your local Top Gear? It doesn't necessarily have to be American Top Gear, it could be any Top Gear that you're watching. And how do you feel about how it fits with your audience? Does it reach you? And has it been out a significant amount of time? Have they made changes to it to make it better? Such as I spoke about with the American version. I didn't think it started out to be a very good program, but over the past few years, I think it's gotten better because I think they've fine-tuned it, and now it's definitely something I want to seek out and watch. But anyway, I am Eric the Car Guy, also known as ETCG1 on this here channel. I would ask if you have automotive questions that you head on over to ericthecarguy.com, where you can type in a couple of keywords into said search function and possibly get an answer to your query. If not, I would ask that you sign up for our forum. It's completely free. All you need is an email address. Be sure to respond to the confirmation email. Check your spam folder. And you can sign up for our forum and ask your question over at the service and repair section. Other than that, if you wish to connect with me via social networks, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. And I will close with, be safe, have fun, and stay dirty. And watch your Top Gear. It's good for you.